Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Happy New Year. Happy 2023 to everyone. Uh, Sending you all my deepest love and admiration. We made it. 2022 was not an easy year for many of us, but we're here. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you for listening to me. I wanted to talk a little bit about what kind of a process that happened to me at the end of every year. I kind of like go through a introspective moment where I begin to examine the successes, the failures, the achievements, the obstacles, the struggles of the year, and begin to try to map out what I think should be my path going forward, any correction that needs to happen. So what occurred to me was that I spent a lot of time trying to remember old practices that I have been doing that somehow I got distracted from doing because of all of the external events that created such loud presence in my life, emotional distraction, climate change events, death, people dying. There's a lot of people that are passing, and I don't mean just people that are close to us, but within the news itself, people who appear to be in the prime of their life in their 30s, they're just one day they're fine, the next day they're gone. And there is a sense in the process of this kind of things happening around, it began to trigger in me a sense of vulnerability and a sense of awareness of my own mortality, and it's a connection that of how unstable the future appears to be. Whatever is going on in the world, it's now way beyond my pay grade, and I feel very vulnerable and whereas before COVID started, before 2020, I had incredible clarity. I was very certain of my path. I had a very clear sense because I was so connected to spirit and to my practice that these external things did not really touch me. My teacher, Dr. Joshua David Stone, used to talk about involve detachments. You get involved into things, you're with friends and associate and everything else. You have preferences, but you don't have attachment to things. The Dalai Lama talks about compassion with detachment. So that part got lost for me because of all of the I lost my mother last year. There are so many personal losses that I experienced that caused me to emotionally, the emotions were so off the scale that it was very hard for me to have that same kind of distance. And in the process of doing this, and basically since there were no classes that I was holding for almost 3 weeks, I spent a lot of time sitting alone and in stillness. I live a very sedentary life. I'm like a monk. And I used, whereas I was very social before, all of you who are listening to me know this, I'm a big hugger. I love to entertain, to cook, to socialize, and all of that just stopped. But I don't mean to say by this that it was necessarily negative for me, because I tend to be a recluse anyway, because I've had so many lifetimes being a monk and being in isolation. But when you're in a monastery, you're with a group of people. Right now, I am alone. I'm in my apartment. I go once a day to do shopping or to go for a walk or sit in the park, and I come back and that's it. I go visit my family twice a month or more, and that's it. I don't socialize. I don't, all the things I used to do. I used to go to the gym every day. All of that has stopped. And it came at a cost. There is a cost that's attached to it. And that's the thing that I have to process. And there is something in me that made me realize that my life is out of balance, that I have isolated myself and I'm in seclusion, that I need to restore balance. Thus, between the new year and now, I've been calling a lot of old friends, and I've been trying to get in touch with them and trying to make plans to get together so that I can reintroduce human interaction in my life. And part of it also is that there is no guarantee, given the way people are exiting the planet, there is no guarantee that anyone is going to be there tomorrow. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about this, thinking about where I'm going, and more importantly, listening. Because my true gift is what I call morphogenic listening. When I listen, I'm able to surrender so deeply in the stillness of my own inner realm that the best way to describe this, I don't need music, I don't need anything in the background. I just stay still in stillness and in silence, and I begin to surrender, expecting the silence to respond back to me and to share with me whatever it wants to share. I go into a morphogenic receptive state, whereas the morphogenic field is allowed to bring me whatever information it spontaneously feels that I need, without any preconceived notion or questioning per se, but just an expectation that an answer will come back to me. And I just sit with it. So in the process of this listening, of this surrendering, of this kind of like, and it really is my gift, because as long as I'm in this alignment and I'm connected to that what I call the emptiness, this void, because you enter into a space where at certain point in this listening thing, what happened first is that there is a pitch. There's a pitch you hear, and beyond the pitch comes an awareness of a space. It's this immense volume that you end up entering into, and when you're in there, you are literally in the cosmic womb, what I call the emptiness. And when you're in there, you're aligned directly to the creative principle. And that's that womb is the divine mother. So I was sitting, I'm sitting and I'm listening to all of this, and I'm allowing myself to go back. And when I'm in that space, I have clarity, I am at peace, I'm surrendered, because when you're in that space, there's no external thought, there's no external idea, there is no fear, there is no attack, there is no concern. Everything is surrendered and brought to that vastness, and all of it dissipate. All of the burden dissipate, and you end up being neutral and being truly detached. And so I spent a lot of time connecting to that space and going back into it and feeling better and better every day. Like that this routine is so important to me. I need to be more into that space and not and again, I don't play music. I may burn some incense and maybe light a candle. That's it. And then I go sit, and my temperature tends to drop when I'm doing this. I usually have a blanket over my leg or over me, so that because my temperature tends to drop when I'm in that state. And then I sit and I allow whatever, because the point is that when you enter into that field, what you discover is benevolent. What you discover is kindness. What you discover is generosity. And when you are in that kind of environment, that kindness, that benevolence, that generosity nourishes you. it transmutes you, it clears you, it gives you all kinds of beautiful gifts that are connected to it. So I'm very grateful that I was able to remember this and that I sat with it, and it began to reconnect me back, and the concern about what's happening politically, what's happening socially, and the weather pattern and the craziness and this, that, or the other, and mass shooting and all the craziness that's happening in the world end up being extremely distant, because when I'm in that space, I am that I am. The mother, father, and I are one, and I am supported and I am safe. And as long as I'm in that space, I know that every step that I'm taking will be guided. And more to the point, when I'm in that space as well, I serve better. I'm able to counsel better. I'm able to heal better. I'm able to teach better. So this is the space that I've been going through too, and that's been allowing me to go back to my center and go back to kind of like my roots. And in the process of doing this, I discovered a few things. One day, as I was doing this, the pitch was there, as it usually is. And then I was sitting on the couch, and on my left side, there was several spaces on the couch that were empty. And the pitch on the left ear, all of a sudden changed. I began to hear a woman's voice trying to talk to me. It was like somewhere in the distance. And I began to lean into it. And then all of a sudden, I felt somebody's thigh against my thigh. There was somebody sitting right next to me. It was a woman next to me. She was a little bit heavy set, not large, but you know, the thighs were sizable, and I could, because it was pressing against me. And she was wearing a sari, and the legs were kind of it was two colors. It was a blue, a kind of deep ocean blue, that kind of Egyptian blue, that kind of deep blue. And then the top was the top of the sari was this peach color, and it was not on top of her head, but around her. And I saw her hair being braided, one braid to the back of her head. And I was paying attention. I'm like, what are you trying to? Thinking like, what are you saying? Her head was turned kind of like this toward my ear, and she was whispering something to me. And as I was listening to her, it was on December 25th, I was doing this meditation, because that same day and the night before, a dear friend of mine who had nobody with him in Florida went to the emergency room with a heart condition. And my phone rang on the coffee table, and I kind of jumped, and I saw his name. I grabbed it, concerned, are you okay? And I lost the connection. And I'm regretful that I didn't put the phone on vibrate or on muted, because that connection was important to me. Subsequent to that, I have had other connections as well in that same stillness, where I have had flashes of vision of this beautiful little Black girl, maybe 7 or 8, beautiful, stunningly like almost like perfect. There's nothing proportion. Beautiful brown eyes. I mean, beautiful. That was kind of like walking around me in that field, in that vast place. She was just walking around me, and she didn't say anything, but she was just walking. A lot of female presence showed up for me in that field. And I just wanted to share that with you. And if you're including this in your practice, this morphogenic listening exercise we talked about, if you're including this in your practice, it will serve you well. Now, what it exposed for me, as I said, is the fact that when I examined how turbulent the year was for me, I realized from March of 2020, when we went into lockdown, even until now, I have literally changed my life, meaning patterns of behavior, all kinds of social interactions, things that I used to do. Like I used to love to go to public events, parades, and I still go to the park and walk and all of that, but I don't go to large gathering. I don't even go to movie theaters anymore. All the things that I used to do, I've simply stopped them. And I'm realizing that there is grief. There's a part of me that's mourning the fact that I don't have this kind of opportunities anymore to interact with other people. And the fact that my life feels, it's kind of a split brain, because there's a part of me that's completely comfortable with my routine, that feels like there's nothing wrong, okay? I get up, I take a shower, I shave, I do exactly the same thing every day, okay? I do my laundry, I cook, I do everything I'm supposed to do. I answer the email, the calls, I do my sessions, I do everything normally that I'm supposed to do. But what I have removed out of my life came at a cost, and there is a death. We are transitioning from 3D to 4D into 5D. And as this transition occurs, right? As this transition occurs, we have to go to ego death. The way you perceive yourself, who you think you are in 3D, needs to die so that you can be reborn to who you are in 4D, and who you are in 4D has to die so that you can be reborn into who you are in 5D. So I am noticing, as I examine the past 4 years, the past 3 years of my life, the mini death that I have experienced, all of the relationship, all of the people that I've been thinking about calling and getting together with, people that I see on Facebook that I used to hang out with. I remember last year, a friend of mine invited me to a family reunion, and right here in Brooklyn. My family is going to be there. There's going to be about 85 of us, blah, blah, blah. My all the fat kids, and we want you to come. You're such a dear friend. I'm the godfather of her son. She invited me because I'm part of the family. I refused. Again, because fear of super spreader event, whatever you want to call it, or my own reticence, my own sense of, I'm not sure exactly why, but I said no. Okay? And it was my opportunity to be with people. There was going to be music, dancing, and all that in this hall, in this big manor out in Brooklyn. And she even offered, she's coming from Jersey, I'm going to come and pick you up. I'm going to drive in, I'm going to pick you up, we're going to go there, and I'm going to drop you off on the way back to Jersey. I said no. So what I'm saying is that I'm noticing that my behavior has changed quite dramatically. There was a time when I was younger, anything that opened, whether it's a club, a bar, a restaurant, a park, and whatever, I was there. If you open an envelope, I would be there. And I'm noticing that I'm becoming somebody else. And there is a part of me that mourns that old part of me. And there's a part of me that welcomes my opportunity, because if I think I would not be as so still missing that old part of me if during the past 3.5 years, I was spending it connected to spirit, and my connection was getting deeper and more profound. Instead, I've been worrying about the state of the world. In Tibetan Buddhism, and we've covered this in previous classes, we talked about the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and they talk about when you transition after the first day, when you experience the first luminosity, for the next 7 days, you're going to experience what they call the benevolent deities. You will see the different color lights and so on and so forth. And after that stage, you're going to face the Lord of Death, Lord of Mara, or what they call the benevolent deities. And the way it's described in the book, every day you meet a different demon, a being that's atrocious, big as the sky, multiple head, drinking blood out of the cup, dead bodies ripped apart, all kind of crazy, crazy stuff that's happening all around. But this is not, and if we're transferring it to the experience we're having now collectively as a planet, the climate change thing that is happening all around us that's causing, for example, the snowstorm that just happened a little bit before Christmas in Buffalo alone, where over 30 people died because of the snow, because of the cold. They froze, many of them froze in their car. This young girl was 22, just moved to Buffalo, froze in her car. She was 5-minute drive away from her house. She couldn't get out, and she was on FaceTime with her family until she froze to death. So there are all these things when you hear them that horrifies you, right? And as these things are happening, I'm realizing that the story of the benevolent deities as these gigantic events, the way it's described in the book at one part, the voice of this being is like thunderclap. This is an analogy for a planetary or global event that's so loud and so out of control that I personally don't know how to deal with it. And so I think if through all of these events, I was more listening internally, and because the next part of the Tibetan Book of the Dead to overcome this is that they kept saying over and over again, none of it is real. That demon that you see is being created by, it's Maya, it's an illusion, it's a projection of your mind. And if you can understand it, the moment you get it, when you're going through the transition of the Bardo, the moment you get this, the tests stop, the demon disappear. And what was a giant as big as the sky up to the clouds transform all of a sudden into rose petals. And what shows up behind it is a Buddha inviting you into enlightenment. So I'm reminded of this, and if I was in the stillness, if I was able to, in other words, I have to recalibrate. I have to remember these lessons, and I have to allow myself to be more vigilant with my practice and go back to the foundation, to what I know works, which is to remain in that stillness and to remain internal and to allow, because the blessed field, whatever you want to call it, the emptiness, the vastness, there's nothing malevolent in it. Everything in it gives clarity, gives support, and transmutation and healing. Nothing in it is malevolent. And it frames these external events in a way to teach you lessons. To all of you who've been sick with viral infections, I won't mention it here for multiple reasons, because we're going to put this on YouTube and I don't want to be censored. But to all of you who are faced with whatever infections and so on and so forth, know this, that these infections are teachers. Because if you go internally deep within yourself whilst you're going through all of this, you will understand a deeper lesson about who you are, where you are, and what you are. You will begin to process in a deeper way an emotional lesson that this infection is trying to teach you. Again, perspective. The illusion and the bigness of this becomes the teacher. And it takes you to a deeper connection, a more enlightened path, a more internal path that will lead you into enlightenment. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for the realization that these mini deaths that I've been going through, these kind of dramatic changes that I've made in my life. There are people I've thought of multiple times, and this is what happened between New Year's and Christmas and New Year. I decided I'm going to call these people. There are so many friends that I think about them all the time. I wonder what so and so is doing, and that person and this person, and I'm not calling them because for whatever reason I don't want physical contact at this moment. And I realize more and more that what I'm doing is that I am, and there's a part of me that is suffering or that desires to have the interaction and the exchange. And I have to acknowledge that that part of me needs to be nourished as well. I cannot remain out of balance like this. And I've taken action to do exactly that. To start having conversation, to start talking to friends, to start having interaction in my life so that I can be much more balanced. And if I'm more balanced, I'm able to heal better, to serve better, to give better. Now, in all of this, what all of this is leading to, and one of the other experiences I've been having, and it's going to become clear in a second, is that I have been having these bouts of dizziness. Okay, it's very hard to explain. It's not exactly dizziness because, like, I've been feeling when I'm listening to my body and going into a state of stillness, and I'm listening to everything that's happening to me. First, is there any information that my body is trying to tell me? Is there any information that the morphogenic field is trying to share with me? Is there anything new that I need to understand? What am I not telling myself? What am I not seeing? What am I blinding myself to? As I sit in the stillness, all of these things are going through my head. I feel in my upper chest a kind of like a discomfort. It's not a pain. I want you to understand this. It's not a pain. It's a discomfort. Then I feel also around my lower kidneys some sort of discomfort, like almost like a sluggishness, like something not right. And at certain times, I feel also dizzy, like my blood pressure change or something. And one moment I'm cooking or I'm doing something else, and all of a sudden I feel like, whoa. If I lean into it, I'm gonna faint right now. I'm gonna just fall to the ground. And I need to go sit somewhere for a minute. And then after a moment, it just disappears. And and knowing exactly what I know, in any other state, I would say that something is wrong. I have to go to a doctor and have myself checked. But knowing what I know what it is. It's DNA upgrades. As I go through my experiences with this, one of the things that I have to remember to do, because in 2008, at a WISAC in Hancock, New York, this is more than over 10 years ago, I presented the world with a channeling that I received in the summer and fall of 2007, which is the DNA reconstruction. And it's available on the website, on the store, if you desire to receive the live recording from that WISAC, because it's extremely potent and powerful. And it was at the time revolutionary because it was at the time they were just giving 12 different collectives that were coming in to give us a means to regrow our 12 strands of DNA. And one after another, each collective created and it came from the seed, a God seed all the way into Gaia and cascading hierarchically down the chain of all the celestial hosts until we connected directly to Gaia and to all the lesser builders to create and physically manifest positive mutation and new 12 strands of DNA. So I'm aware of when you go through this process, there are certain sensations and symptoms that you feel. These symptoms are similar. And one of the things we did when we were doing a support group initially for the small group that started in 2009 to do this, we were asking everybody to drink plenty of water. What I have been doing of late, that is, again, that I started correcting since yesterday, is that I was not drinking enough water. I was having maybe 2 cups of water per day. And I'm now realizing I must have 6 to 8 cups per day, because where we are collectively as a planet, and whereas in 2008, we were the herald and we were the bushwhackers, where the planet is traversing now and cresting above the galactic equator, the whole planet is being bombarded with energies coming from these 12 collectives that are accelerating this positive mutation, this biogenesis. And because it's creating this and causing this, a lot of us will begin to feel like you have migraine headache, or you have all kind of strange sensation. You feel like you're about to faint. Lightheaded. You feel all kind of weird sensation in your body, like sometimes electrical currents moving to a different part of your body. So what I'm doing right now is that I realized to support this, one of the things that we had downloaded at the time was drink a lot of water, because we have 90% of what's in our body is water. And the more you're refreshing the water, the more the old patterns will begin to flush out, and the more the new, because your DNA geometry, instead of XY chromosome, will change and will alter, because we're moving from being Homo sapien to being Homo Deus, which is the Greek word for God, or Homo luminous, which is the term like the Galactic Region Council have used over and over again, to becoming Homo luminous, where we are not just connected to this universe, but we become multi-universal. It's a huge, huge and dramatic difference. No wonder I am feeling these mini death experience. No wonder I feel insecure. No wonder I feel vulnerable. No wonder I feel I have to be by myself, because when I'm alone and I'm by myself, because so many things are happening in my body that I don't understand. This is not normal course and normal reaction and normal behavior. I don't understand them. And if I don't understand them, I rather stay home. And the reason why I'm not calling my friends and I'm not participating with them, it's not just me being antisocial. It's the fact that also all of these deeper and greater things are happening that I don't know how to process. And therefore, I rather stay home for a little bit, just trying to figure out exactly what's going on. I don't want to be walking down the street and feeling like I'm fainting, right? I'd rather stay home. If I'm going to faint, my bed is right there. I'll manage a way to get into it. Okay. So these are the things that are going in my mind and in my subconscious mind as I'm experiencing all of these changes. And it's important for us to understand that we have to be very aware that, and again, it's not a judgment. My personality, not only my behavior, but my personality is shifting, is changing. I am connecting deeper to higher emotion. I am understanding myself in a completely deeper way, and therefore my behavior will change because of this. But again, I am not completely proud of myself and my reaction over the past 2 years. I know this is the human part of me, okay? Hear me out. I know you're going to tell me, because I can hear myself saying it back to myself, I should go easy on myself. But I'm telling you the truth, that there's a part of me that's not very completely proud of the way I'm reacting to things, that I should do better and react in a way that's more aligned and more elevated. Because the one thing that this morphogenic listening ability gave me was always clarity. Yet I do have the clarity at the moment, but the loudness of the external things becomes so distracting that I may have it for 2-3 hours and then it's gone. And I spend the rest of the day wondering which one is up and how am I feeling and why am I feeling this way. So, and it takes me the whole next day to get back again into that clarity. And whereas I exist in it, I would say almost like 65% of the time, this is the space that I was in. And when I'm in that space, it's the easy button. Everything flows. Everything flows. So it's a kind of like, I'm learning now how to cope better. I'm readjusting, I'm learning how to cope better and giving the information that I know now that my DNAs are being reconfigured. They're literally the geometry of it. Not only new strand of DNA are being created, but the geometry of it will change. It's being mutated. And if it is mutating, no wonder the discomfort that I'm feeling in my body. And it's internal to me. And since I don't completely understand where it's going at the moment, I have doubts. I feel that maybe I'm not well physically. Maybe I should go to a doctor. Am I under attack? And for a lot of people, it creates all kinds of fears. I don't believe I'm under attack at any moment. I don't believe I'm under attack. Even if there is, and not that there are no malevolent principalities that are exacerbating this external event. In fact, there's lots of them. That's a different class. We're going to have a different conversation about this. If you want me to talk about this in a separate class, I will talk about it. But you know, there are malevolent deities that are principalities that are doing all kinds of things. But I don't fear them. I'm not afraid of them. As I pray, and I do pray a lot. The one thing I've done throughout this past year, maybe I'm not back into what is for me my true core gift, which is listening. But the one thing that I've been doing is that I've been praying. I've been praying a lot. Okay? I've been praying a lot. And as I pray, I become much more at peace. It becomes like a bridge that allows me to go back to my clarity, to constantly go back to my clarity, to constantly go back to my clarity. Any questions, any comments that you may have?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you talk about that in a sense. I'm glad that you've sort of figured it out. It's helpful for me because I've also felt strange. And as I'm walking perhaps down the street, it's like I remember how to walk. It's almost as though, I don't know, it's almost as though I'm not in my body. And I don't drink enough water, so maybe that'll help as well. But, you know, I'm glad just to hear you talk about how it's affecting you.
Yes, Janice, I know exactly what you're talking about, the walking down the street. You feel literally like you're off axis and you're about to tilt over.
Yeah, yes.
Okay? And like you don't know how to walk anymore. You're like, oh, wait a minute, which leg do I, you know? And again, it's that profound There's a rearrangement taking place. And I know that the moment I begin to drink enough water, and I'm going to be honest with you, the reason I don't drink enough water, it's because it causes me to wake up several times during the night to go to the bathroom. And I don't want to do this, okay? I'm being honest. And last night I woke up twice to go to the bathroom. So now I don't have a choice. I have to do it. Okay? Because the moment I begin to drink enough water, I am more stable, I'm more alive. These kind of weird symptoms disappear. They go in the background. In a matter of days, it just, all of them go away. And I've seen on mass media, multiple mediums, the teachers have said the same thing. The energies are really high and all kind of things are happening. Drink lots of liquid water. They are totally right. They are totally right. Because there's a positive mutation. No longer, whereas when we did that research in 2008, it was us going as the herald to kind of initiate this. Now the whole planet is being enveloped by these energies, causing all of it to happen. Now, some of us, and I'm going to be very direct and very honest with you, some of us will not be able to handle the rapid change that this requires from us. Some of us will not be able to handle it. Some people will choose to leave the planet. I'm telling you, there were moments, particularly when I was in the apartment, where this was happening to me, where I thought to myself, if I lean into this, I think I could die right now. Literally, this is how it felt. Like I literally, in one moment, I feel so dizzy and so out of whack that I could lean into and die right at this moment. It was I, by sheer will, that said, no, this is not what's happening. I'm going to tell you why. When Darwin was studying the Galapagos to come up with this theory, he realized that there were birds that were in these separate islands with whose various territory. One was very dry and arid, the other one has a lot of flowers and so on and so forth. In the arid, dry area, he studied and realized that there were these birds with very fat beaks that were crushing these very hard seeds and all that. And in the other island, where there were lots of flowers and lots of fauna, and the beaks were longer. But when he studied the anatomy of both of these birds, they were finches and they came from the same species. At some point, when the birds landed in the area where the seeds were so hard and so on and so forth, they couldn't survive because finches don't have that kind of fat beak. It's a mutation. And they couldn't survive. So the way mutation occur in nature, half of the species or more will die. And over the period of all of this death, the survivors will mutate and adapt to the new environment. This is the way mutation occurs in nature. So that the offspring of the mothers that lay egg in that environment that was very harsh with not the right kind of plants and fauna, then the chicks, the little birds that grew up, end up having these fat beaks that allow them to be able, stronger beaks that allow them to crush the seeds. And I'm saying this to you because I want you to understand, and this is going to even at a deeper level. I want you to understand that there's a part of your energy. We lie to ourselves all the time, but energy doesn't lie. There is a part of you that understands the danger, because if you look at the Tibetan Book of the Dead, when they're talking about the transit of the Bardo, which we're going through right now, from one dimension to the next, from one state of being to the next, they keep talking all the time, help me find safe passage through the Bardo. There's danger in there. There's danger of me leaning into and taking the exit out. remember what I said, that what Darwin discovered, over half of the species transition. And it's once this was past that level, the survivors mutated and became more resilient and adaptable to the new environment. If you look at the channeling we just received in December from the Galactic Region Council, as it relates to what's going to happen in the planet for the next 10 years, they said it so clearly. Lots of individuals of all ages, and I'm paraphrasing, will not be able to handle the rapid change and transition that needs to happen, and many of them will exit and die. And there's a part of me when these things happen to my body that feels like I could die right now for a moment. And I'm like, no, by sheer will, I'm saying, no, I'm not doing this. No. I hope in a kind of roundabout way, Janice, that I answered your question.
No, it really wasn't a question anyway, but yes, I know what you mean. It sounds very attractive to just transition and be rid of all of this strife and be at peace. That is, I think, probably something I've thought about too, but it's not my path. So.
Yep. And Janice, I'm going to add to this. For me, when you are a seer and you're able to see the future, whatever you perceive, particularly when it's not pleasant, you cannot unsee it. It remains with you. And it begins to eat at the edge of your consciousness. It's like a darkness. When you know the challenges and how turbulent things are going to be, like the knowledge that I have to say to you that I have, to give you another example of what I'm talking about, I've done this multiple times with groups where I have the ability to not only take people in past lives, but I can also project people in the future 100 years. And I remember doing this one time in Long Island where there were like over 50 people in the group, etc. People were in shock after I brought everybody back. They were like, yeah, the planet looks beautiful, it's lush, it's stunning, and etc. But where are the people? There were very few people that were around. And part of it, it's because of what happened when that positive mutation is about to occur. Many people on the current species will simply not be able to handle the transit. They will not be able to handle it. And as a seer, when you know this, your body, again, energy knows the truth. Your body, again, there is a cognitive dissonance often when I go into the stillness and I'm listening to the morphogenetic field. My body may be aware of something, like I know something is there, but I cannot find word to describe it. I can't define it. I cannot find the vocabulary to describe what I'm feeling or what I'm experiencing. Because a lot of time it's so multidimensional and it's so out of the box that my 3D mind and ego cannot process it. I cannot understand it, I cannot process it. And so as these events and these things are happening, be kind to yourself. Wherever you are, that's where you're supposed to be. And by sheer will and the grace of God, know that you came here to guide others through this transition. And therefore, you are a herald and you're not here to exit. This is not your path. Again, as I said, the sensation that I feel often when I'm in that kind of dizzy and unstable state is that lean right into the letting go. And then right now you leave the planet and there's no problem. Immediately, like this, you can let go. Any questions, any comments you may have? So it's important for us to know that these as we're transiting, as we're moving to all of the changes that are taking place, we should be very aware that the struggle and the discomfort that we may feel are actually, particularly when you go into this morphogenic listening awareness space and you begin to listen to what your body is trying to tell you. And again, as I said, when I do this, I don't play music, I don't play any recording. I just sit in complete stillness and silence. And I begin to listen and I talk to myself and I begin to, and I don't even talk at some point, I simply deep breath and I'm listening to everything that's happening in my body and outside of my body. Because there is an inner intelligence that exists in that blessed field. There is a benevolence, a kindness, a generosity. And if I lean into it, because how I handle the challenges of the DNA reconstructions and everything else that's happening around me is very different from the way you're going to handle it, because we're all at different stages of growth and evolution. Therefore, my path and how I respond to the challenges that are presented to me will be different from you. There are certain landmarks that are going to be similar, but it's going to be different enough that I may not be able to describe it, explain it in a way that is exactly like what you're experiencing. So when I'm listening this way and I'm in that stillness and I'm in that silence, I am in a state of expecting a response from the blessed field. I am expecting that benevolence and that kindness to heal me, to repair me. I'm expecting guidance. I'm expecting alignment. I'm expecting support. And as I do this, it comes. And the knowledge based on how to move and how to position myself and what I should think and how to process things that are happening around me occurs automatically. As I said, more and more people will exit the planet of all ages. For the same reason that I've been talking about this, this kind of weird sensation of fainting. Again, drink plenty of fluid to counterbalance this. But that fainting, that sensation, you don't know how to walk, you feel like you're wobbly, you're walking around is not steady for you. And the seclusion, and part of it, again, it's complex. I'm not meaning to say that you should not be secluded, because I think there's an internal process that's going on that you should internally examine. And moreover, we're walking from the 3D body. So all of the activities that were 3D related, that were more ego-based, you're going to have to let go. You may mourn them and feel like you're grieving them for a while, but you got to let them go and move into your multidimensional and multi-universal self, right? And so as you're moving into that other aspect of you, it's still an unknown territory. And you need to familiarize yourself with this unknown factor, this X factor. And as you sit in this stillness, Again, I'm no music, no recording, nothing. I just sit in the stillness, just doing my deep universal breath, and then listening to all the sounds that are happening around me, the pitch that is in my ear. Then what am I feeling? What am I not seeing? What comes to mind at this moment? What does God and the universe wants to share with me at this moment? And you know what's the most powerful state? Once you begin this query and this kind of conversation, to get to a point where you go completely blank, where literally you feel like you passed out, you went somewhere, and you don't remember where you are, and you come back to yourself. That is very powerful. Because at that point, you're just being a witness. You're observing without having any objection. So it's important for us to kind of open ourselves up to all these various possibilities and let ourselves be malleable to whatever the universe may want to share with us. I know that we're moving to rapid changes, and the landscape of the future may seem unsteady, unstable. And this is why in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they keep saying all the time, all the prayers, the one sentence that's repeated over and over again: give me safe passage through the bardo. Give me safe passage. Yes, I'm more reclusive, but I'm now realizing I've taken it to an extreme. I'm way out of balance. I need to reintroduce people and relationships in my life. I need to have people that are closer to me. And as I'm doing this, I'm opening the doorway for that possibility to re-enter into my life. I reached out to, again, a whole bunch of friends that I have not spoken to in a while, dear friends, people that I trust, and I'm making plans with them to remain more connected. As I said, there are lots of people at the gym that I used to see all the time that I'm thinking about all the time. Sometimes I see their profile on Facebook, what they're posting, and I'm like, I miss this person. Because we used to have conversation all the time. I wonder how he or she is doing. And somehow over the past 3 years, I have not reached out to anybody. I'm changing this because I'm at a point now where I'm realizing I'm way out of balance on the other side. Any questions, any comments?
Yeah, just hang on in there. And as we get to the end of our rope, day by day, we're just going to tie a knot and keep on hanging in there. And because there's nothing that we can do except wait for the change to come. And I find myself doing what you said and having some of the same experiences. And it's just like being pregnant. Once the seed is in you, the only thing you can do is wait for nature to take its course. And you're not going to have that baby 1 minute sooner than the timing that is right for it to come forth. So all I can say is hang in there. And this morning when you were talking, And he said only one other person. It was Susan Talley. That name
Yes,
just
yes, Susan Talley. Thank you.
that name. I said I know that name. As soon as you spoke about her, I saw her
Yes.
in my mind, and I said I know it's going to come in the middle of the night. So I'm glad that it didn't come in the middle of the night. It's still early, so it doesn't have to wake me up and tell me Susan Talley, and I have no one to tell it to. So I'll tell it to you now, so I don't have to call you in the middle of the night and say Susan Talley. But we went through a lot of changes, because you're talking about the different things that the DNA reconstruction is doing in your body. I remember one time you went out to you were at your house, and you were in the where you have the greenhouse area, and you was cutting something. And when you came back, your eyes were different. And I said, Pierre, your eyes are different. And you said, oh. So just the way those things came, and it went, and all I can say is whatever happens, like you were saying one time, you said, look, I just don't want to wind up one day with a tail. I said, I don't know what's going on. I just don't want to wind up with a tail. And all of us, I mean, you just have to go through the process.
Yep.
And you can't rush it.
Yep.
You can't rush it. And that time that I'm telling you that we sat back to back,
yes,
in that theater,
yes,
and all I could say, we were harnessing this energy, and I knew we were giving birth to something.
yep,
I could barely move. I felt like I was on the last day before, when you go in the hospital for your labor, and your back is being split open. You cannot, your body does things that you can't even imagine
yep.
to accommodate this birth. And I remember trying to drive from Hancock to Monticello. It looked like I never saw this place before. It looked like I was looking through some kind of night vision. Everything was alive. The trees was alive. I was seeing, like to see the waves come up off the sidewalk when it's really, really hot. I saw that kind of energy. And it took me so long to get to Monticello. And then when I got there, I said, I'm just going to stop at this gas station and just going to sit here, because I don't think I can drive any further. And I still had to get to Rockland, from there. But I knew something had happened.
Mm.
And when I finally got home, I think I was in bed about 2 or 3 days. And then you called me and you told me what happened to you. I said, well, I'm telling you, Pierre, I thought I was crazy, because I said I didn't know what was going, but I knew we birthed something. If you ever had a child, you would know that feeling when that birth process is going on. You don't know your body could even accommodate that kind of pressure or that kind of pushing and pulling and stretching to accommodate the birth of this being that's coming forth.
Celidia, I want to share something with two things you said here that are very powerful. I want to support. The first one being is that day I remember so clearly. I was cutting something in the greenhouse and I came back in and you said, your eyes, the colors are changing. What's going on? Mm-hmm. And I went to look in the bathroom because this is a consequence of the DNA reconstruction. Mm-hmm. And since then I noticed something in my eyes, even now, that right around the ring that's around the brown of my eyes is actually blue.
Yes.
But when I do the DNA reconstruction work so heavy, mm-hmm. At the moment, the entire iris of my eyes become completely blue.
Yes.
And I don't know when it's happening. People have to tell me.
Right.
Because I don't feel any difference. I'm just going about my business, but the connection is so heavy that my eyes are beginning to change.
Yes, I know that.
Now at that theater that day, what we're doing is that we were celebrating the reopening of the Niagara Fall chakra.
Yes.
Okay? If you remember the ceremony we were doing,
Mhm.
I needed somebody. I was holding the male energy. I didn't trust anybody else. I said, Celidia, I trust you. We're going to sit back to back and we're going to do this together.
Yes.
I was guided to do this. I had no idea what I was doing. It was just spontaneous.
Mhm.
Because when I showed up, I kept on, I'm a Capricorn. I had to prepare everything ahead of time. I
Mhm.
kept on asking them. They kept saying, it's in a need to know basis, Pierre. You need to show up. You need to be present. Show up.
Mhm.
And we will take over. And that's exactly what happened.
That's right.
I have to tell you, Celidia, I don't know nothing about birth or no babies.
Mhm.
But when I spoke to you 3 days later, when you described the pain,
Mhm.
I was having the exact same experience.
Yes, Lord.
I didn't understand what the hell was going on with me. I couldn't get up. I couldn't walk. I felt literally like somebody was splitting open my pelvis, was pulling them apart.
Mhm. 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 Yes, Lord.
You're totally right about that. Completely. And if I didn't speak with you, if you didn't frame it into that's exactly what it feels like when you're giving birth and you're having a baby, I would have never, I'm like, something is wrong with me. What the hell? What happened? I don't understand.
That's right.
I'm a man. I've never experienced anything like this before.
That's right. I tell you. And I'm telling you, when that seed is dropped into you, only the divine can make the directions and the necessary adjustments
Yep.
for whatever to happen.
Yep.
And I said, my goodness, I couldn't even talk to anybody because who could I tell that to?
Yep. Yep.
Yes, God is real, 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 real. And the work is being done regardless of whether you could see it or you can't taste it. You might, but you will feel what's going on inside you. You will feel it.
Boy, did I feel it.
Yes, Lord. I'm just thinking about it now. I could feel it all over again.
Yep. It was a sensation that was on. And again, I remember driving back because I had to drop all these other people off. I drove everybody back after WISAC and came back to the city. And I'm like, what am I feeling? What the hell? What is this thing in my back? My back is killing me. Is it from exhaustion? And again, it was not 3 days later when I called you that I realized I wonder how you're doing. And in the course of you, when you're describing the pain, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling exactly the same thing. Exactly.
Yeah, well, I tell you, we do know that there is an attraction that happens between, the male energy and the female energy. And I'm grateful that his spirit even thought to give you that indication that I would be a safe place for you to work with. And all I can say is just glory, 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 glory. Because maybe if I was 40 years younger, you might not be able to trust me either.
Well, everybody had their agenda. You're totally right.
Only God.
Everybody had their agenda, and I didn't trust them. I just didn't trust them. I'm like, all these other women have other things in their mind, and this is something so much higher, so much transcendent. I don't trust them. I don't trust them.
And this is not about, because you were talking earlier about the energy starting, in the sacral area and moving up when the Kundalini starts to move.
Yeah.
I said, I know that feeling too, because I had that happen.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, hold on, Nelly, what's going on?
Yep.
And here at 80, I could still feel the spirit moving.
Yep. And the part about the DNA reconstruction process through the channeling in 2008 was that this is the way it starts. It starts in the Kundalini.
Mm-hmm.
And it created a sensation like something is moving in there. And I'm like, wait a minute. What's going on? I'm the God's seed is being planted in me. I'm feeling it in my crotch.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Hey.
You know, I got confused for a while, you know. I channeled the stuff from very high, but I didn't know any of the symptoms. I didn't know how it was supposed to make me feel. And all of us together learned it as we did it together.
Yes, yes.
And-
It's having the courage to and having the faith to act upon what is being given you in a moment when you don't have any other proof.
Yes.
Master used to say, going out on a limb.
Yep.
But going out on a limb is exactly what it is. You don't know if this is going to support you or not,
Yep.
but you go
Yep.
because you feel impelled to do what's being given you to do.
Yep. And this is the same kind of state of awareness when you're in a morphogenic listening state that I sit in. I am expecting the benevolence, the kindness, and the generosity of this blessed field to come back to me. And as I sit in there, information, healing, repairs, insight, all kinds of things comes to me. And I'm telling you, the deeper state when you get in there is when you do this long enough, there is a moment where you go and all of a sudden you see yourself in this vast volume where there is no direction, no up, no down, no direction whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you don't know where you are, you're disoriented, and there is complete stillness, not even a thought. This is the highest space, the highest state of enlightenment and ascendance. Because at that moment, you and God are the perfect witness. And when you step out of this, the afterglow remains for hours and days. You become a beacon that everyone is attracted to. You become a lighthouse, and everyone sees you because they can feel that non-judgment through you. They can feel that stillness through you. They can feel that the fact that there is only generosity that's radiating from you. And they want to come to you for that.
Yes, Lord. Well, it's tremendous. But if you did not have the ability, it would not have been given you to do.
Yes.
And so that's where I keep telling myself, I said, well, who am I? How am I going to ever attain this kind of knowledge? They're not asking me to have it all in my head. They just say, open your heart.
That's it.
And I'll do it through you.
Yep. That's it. That's it, Celidia. I love what you're saying. That's exactly it. Okay. Because you don't have the power. And this is what happened in that case. You don't have the power. The power is not yours.
Right.
The field that you go into has all the power. This is why you have to unburden yourself and give yourself over to the blessed field.
Yes.
That's exactly it. You are insignificant. It is not my will, it's thy will.
Amen.
So when I'm in that space and I'm in that surrender again, and you know, when we used to do those retreats upstate and sometimes we would do the exercise repeated. First, I would guide everybody into an exercise. Then I would have a play, and you do the meditation again. We go eat. I do the meditation again, and this time I just play music in the background. And the final and third time, in complete silence.
Right.
In complete silence. We repeat it again, and this time no one says anything. And I remember one time, I don't know, we must have sat in there for 2.5 hours. But it felt like it was maybe 45 minutes. It's when I looked at the clock, I'm like, what?
Mhm.
Is it already 12 o'clock, 12 midnight? How did, because when you go into that space, there is no time and there is no space.
Right.
The same way you could be there in 5 minutes and think you've been there for 2 hours,
Right.
or the exact inverse.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know if you remember this. This is like years ago. One of the first dinner that I threw upstate, because once a year I do dinner and I invite all the light workers that I know to the house. I cook for 3 days. I do all this crazy stuff. I bake cake, everything from scratch. I cook everything. And we had a dinner, and Kat Judd came to the house and we ate. Everybody came around 7. We all sat down, we all ate, we had dinner, and then I served 4-course dinner, and then I served coffee after dessert and all that. And she said, "What time is it? I should think about going home." It was 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right. I do remember that.
And she's like, "Oh my God, my husband is going to think that I fell into a ditch. I got to go home."
Mhm.
And really, it was normal conversation. It's a time warp.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes.
And again, when that blessed energy is all around you, you can create a safe space in your apartment, in your home, in a retreat center, where that energy is permanently present.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that healing bless everyone.
Amen.
Everyone that walks into that space. And it's a challenge. All of you know this, and I'm now, anybody that goes to Guyville, to upstate, I have to send them a disclaimer to describe to them what kind of energetic space that they are walking into, because I've had too many people rush to the hospital. I remember this young girl who, again, she had tinnitus, the sound in her ear. I've had people who have taken literally Ubers from upstate back to New York because they are too afraid of the energy. Because the stillness is so profound that certain people who are not at peace with themselves cannot handle it.
Right.
They have literally energetic altitude sickness. I mean, if I know this, if people tell me this, I can help you acclimate. I can show you what to do, because I don't want people to feel uncomfortable and to feel like they're under attack. It's not an attack. It's because it's silence. It creates such an hermetic state that there is no distraction whatsoever. And the moment you enter into that holy center, then it enhanced, if you're used to listening, it enhanced that ability. But if you're not used to this and you want distraction all the time, it will terrify you.
Yes. Well, what you do frequently becomes your frequency.
Mm. Mm. Well,
So go into that state and stay there.
yeah,
That will be your frequency.
yes. Yes. Any other questions or comments from anybody else before we pause for a break? All right, let us take a 5-minute break, and then on the back end, we'll do the closing meditation.
Okay.
5 minutes.
Mhm.
Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your entire awareness emanate from your heart space, as if your eyes existed in the center of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Become aware of any sensations, perceptions, expansion knowing. That may want to show up for you. You are now in sync with the morphogenic field. With infinity times infinity. You're at one with endlessness. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And surrender all of your fears, your attachments, your petty grievances and pet peeves. Let go. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And as you exhale, listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Become aware of any insights, knowing healing. Transmutation. That infinity times infinity wants to gift you. Listen. For the generosity kindness and repair of the vast continents lean into whatever instantaneous and miraculous change. That infinity times infinity wants to create for you. I become aware of the rest. Of the complete peace and stillness. And my soul is in complete regeneration and healing. In this vast and immense sacred space of rest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you. Thank you, Pia.
You're welcome, Celia.
Thank you. That was actually very healing
Wonderful,
in my
Janet.
experience. And thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anyone else? I want to thank all of you for listening to me, for all the supporters on Patreon. Thank you all for your support. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, increase the algorithm. I welcome you to 2023 and thank you so much for being with us, and I'll talk to you next week. Deep love, everyone. Good night. Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
All right.